Thanks for joining us today. I'm Gabe Garrish, owner of Backwoods Pursuit, and today we're going to take a look at the Zpacks DupleXL tent. This is the larger version of the Zpacks Duplex tent. Did a review on that a while back. This is the larger version of that, the XL version. We're going to take a look at what makes this different than the Zpacks Duplex and some of the design features that make this unique. As always, really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Check out our website, backwoodspursuit.com. Tons of gear reviews over there, as well as an in-depth review on this Zpacks DupleXL tent. I'll put links to all that down in the description, as well as a link to this tent so you can check it out for yourself. Let's dive into this review. All right, so this is the DupleXL all set up. Very similar to the Duplex in the design with the two trekking pole setup here. They're both at 48 inches. And so you have a nice height, a peak height of 48 inches, which is great, especially for taller folks. Some of the other specs here, the length is 8 feet, whereas a typical Zpacks tent is at 7.5 feet. So if it's tall folks really well, or if you just want extra space at the head and the foot of your tent, it works really well that way. Same as all other Zpacks tents and the Duplex, you got the clip system right here, which is really pretty cool. So you have a zipperless design, and then here you have a way to latch this to aid in, if you have a windy night or something like that, you can go ahead and loop that and to keep the wind. You just want to make sure that when you're setting up this tent, if you do have a windy night, it helps to not have the wind coming this way to catch this lip to create a little bit less of noise or whatnot if the wind is really whipping hard that way, but it's not too bad at all. I've never had a problem with that, but just one extra precaution to take. I typically don't even need to do that. I don't when I use these tents, but something to take into consideration. Now, one of the unique things about these tents, or one of the unique things that's different about the Duplex versus the DupleXL here, is that the DupleXL has a 12-inch stay, I believe it is, on the head and the foot of the tent. Now, what this stay does here, it's just a carbon fiber stay that is sewn in here to the head and the foot of the tent. There's one on this end, one on the other, and it's got a line lock here cord and another stake right here. So that's going to allow you to tension this down and really pull the head of this tent up when you tighten that down. So it's going to give you that extra headroom, extra foot room, keep your sleeping bag off the side of the tent, which is really nice. One thing to note that I found about this is that if you loosen this up here, on the bottom here, you do have on the back side a clip that it's possible for this to come undone while you're in transit or you're packing it up. It's kind of hard to get off, but it clips on the back right here. And if that does come unclipped, you'll find the stay just wants to flop like this, which is not going to do you any good. So you want to make sure it's clipped on the bottom there. But that does aid in packing it up if you want to undo that when you're packing later on, to make sure that this goes back into the bag the way it should. So tighten that good down really well, and then you have extra headroom here at the top. And you will notice you do have a mesh screen on the underneath side here. That helps with any kind of bugs or splatters or anything like that. If you do have any kind of rain, you have a bit of an overhang here, and then a nice tall bathtub floor. So it really protects you from any rain, any moisture, and any splattering from heavy rain. And then the mesh does another good job there of keeping that rain and water out of the tent. Now, otherwise, this tent looks a whole lot like what you know as the Duplex, because it is basically just like the Duplex, but is in the XL form. And what makes the difference here in the XL is really on the interior. Now, on the interior here, this is where some of the differences start to show in the DupleXL versus the Duplex. Like the Duplex, you've got a 36-inch zipper. The height here is 36 inches. But unlike the Duplex, you have additional width here on the DupleXL. This is 44 inches wide on the interior, which is great. I do wish it was a little bit wider. 44 inches is great if you have two standard width pads, but if you happen to have two of the 25-inch wide pads, obviously it's not going to work too well, or if it did work, you'd have to pull your trekking pole out and kind of roll onto the side here, so you kind of negate the benefit of the bathtub floor, but you could do it that way. It would be nice if it went to 50 inches so you could have two wide pads, because a lot of times If you're a taller hiker, then you need those long wide pads, or they only come in a wide variety. So it would be nice if it was a little bit wider, but it is wide enough to make it work if you need to. It's great for one person, of course, plenty wide for that. And like I mentioned earlier, you've got 8 feet in length here, so it's plenty wide, or plenty long for every person out there, more or less. And then you've got extra room up to the head and the foot there if you want to store your gear and whatnot that way. Height here is 48 inches, so nice and tall, so you can sit up really easily in here. You can see I've got one of the Zpacks solo quilts here, and it fits nice and easily there. You could put in a second person here real easily that way, and a lot of height up on the top of this. So that's some of the main differences here between the Duplex and DupleXL. You've got the stays, the extra width, and the extra length in the DupleXL over the Duplex. Now the weight for the Zpacks DupleXL comes in at just 20.8 ounces, and that's for the standard 0.5 ounces per square yard fabric. And some of the colors like this burnt orange come in a 0.75 ounces per square yard. If you go with one of the colors that is in the heavier weight, you get better waterproofing. You do get a little bit more weight, about 1.5 to 2 ounces more depending on the shelter. So it's not much of a weight penalty, but more durable, more puncture resistant, and more waterproof, but you add a little bit of weight there. Now the floor here is a 1 ounce per square yard, so it's even more waterproof and more puncture resistant, which is good being that it's the floor. So you have the most durable on the floor, which is where you want it anyways. Now the vestibule here comes in at 20.75 inches on each side, 2 doors, 2 vestibules, identical on both sides. So you have a nice big vestibule if you need to use that for gear storage, especially if it gets some weather moves in, you need to protect your gear from rain. So that is very helpful. So as you can see, you've got just a lot of space on the interior here. I'm 5'11", and I've got tons and tons of headroom here. I've even got headroom all the way till about right here on the tent on both sides. So it's nice and tall. I can sit up real easily, even when I get my pad in here and whatnot. So lots and lots of space on the interior of this tent. The length is awesome for being able to store your extra gear and whatnot. But I've got, you know, a good 1 to 1.5 feet above the top of my head. So it makes it easier for getting dressed and whatnot in the morning as well. And one of the things I love about this tent is how high the bathtub floor comes up here. It really helps protect from any rain splatter or anything like that that might occur. So it's really nice that way all the way around the entire tent. Really nice that way. Helps keep both the head and the foot clean as well. So it really does a good job that way. Now one thing that I feel like might be able to be a bit better, or I wish was a little different on this, is when we pull this down and hook that in and tighten it up. We've got the vestibule here is, you know, probably 6 to 8 inches off the ground here. It would be kind of nice if that was extended out a little bit farther. That would help protect even better against any rain. But the benefit to this is that even when you have this thing all buttoned down, all the doors closed off, you still have really good ventilation. So because this is a single wall tent, condensation can be an issue. So that does really aid in keeping that condensation at bay. Of course, if you have 2 people in here, you're going to have condensation pretty much no matter what you do, unless you keep all the doors open, or at least a door open on each side to get some good airflow through there. So it would be kind of nice if there was an option to have this a little bit lower, but at the same time that would negate the airflow that you do get from this design. So kind of can't have everything there, but it is very, very nice that way. And it does a good job of ventilating, even though it doesn't do as good a job as it could in protecting from rain. But as you can see, you're good almost 21 inches from the inside of that tent, so you're not going to have issue with any rain splattering from underneath this, from the vestibule here. Now, one other thing I wanted to say about the Zpacks DupleXL here, I had the chance to test this over the winter during some snowstorms that we had. Now, this is not really a tent that's designed for a snow load, but this thing did amazing with some really wet, heavy snow that we had 6 to 8 inches of snow. And while certainly put this thing to the test, this thing held up great in that snowstorm. So you can know that if you do find yourself in a situation where you get an unexpected snowstorm up in the high country, this is going to be storm worthy even in a snowstorm. So was super impressed with that and the ability this had to hold up to some pretty heavy snow for us. Now, a quick setup tip on this. When you're setting up the peaks here, you want to make sure that you are straight across from each other, and that those guy lines are straight across from each other. That's going to help you get the peak of the tent just right. Now on the sides here in the corners, you want this to be at a 45-degree angle away. You don't want this to be, undo this real quick, you don't want this to be straight in line with the tent here. You want it to be out here at a 45-degree angle so you get the best tension here on the tent. If you go too far this way, then you won't have tension on the vestibule. Too far this way and you won't have tension here. So just that 45-degree angle. And it is nice that this line lock is sewn in at a 45-degree angle as well, so it makes that easier to get that right when you're setting it up. But do it a couple times and you'll be a pro at it. It's real simple that way, but just a quick setup tip on getting just the right pitch with this tent. So that is the Zpacks DupleXL. It's an awesome large tent. It especially works great if you are tall. It's 1 to 2 person tent, 1 plus gear, a little tight with 2, but it does work as long as you both don't have a wide pad, a 25-inch wide pad. So drop any questions or comments down in the comment section. I'd love to help you out if we can, answer any questions if we can do that. Again, I'll put a link to this down in the description for you so you can check it out for yourself. Thanks for watching here today, and we will see you next time.